first we tease them a little bit. We extend out the budget for going back in. I got more publicity for us.
I have to leave that to you, but it's one of the most exciting projects we have nationwide. It's the only thing of its kind.
Right. It's going to go all up into the Hudson, the Erie Barge Canal, the Whitehall, and Lake Champlain and George, of course, and then on to Lake Erie. So most everyone will get a chance to board it. Right.
Governor, I'm presenting this on behalf of the National Bi-centennial Administration and John W. Warner, our administrator. And we hope you'll be able to find a place for it in your office.
We really appreciate this. So
It's a token of our esteem for your support.
we'll make certain that it gets an appropriate place and further identification in
Excuse me.
Red Room, which is executive chamber.
Can you just get behind it a little bit so we don't stretch it out so much? That's fine. That's good. So that's good. That's good. Now.
Ms. White, looking at it, that's like with the government. Governor looking at it, please.
Right.
That's fine. Smile, Governor, you look please. Very good.
Can you both look up for a second? Thank you. One more at each other and happy.
Pretty good looking flag. Pretty good looking flag one. It's 200 years old.
Yes.
Pull that flag, Jody.
That's it, that's good. All right, here we go.
It's probably more stuff than the whole Continental Congress had at one
Well,
time.
this is the one that's looking forward to the third century.
Third century.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you
Thank you very much. Thanks,
Thank you,
Barbara.
Governor.
Sorry you had
Good
to
to
wait.
see you, sir.
Thank you very
That's
much.
perfectly all right.
Taking care of this and getting on up to Albany.
Governor, it was particularly good to see your family.
Well, you
The
can see
girls, I
today,
hope
except
we'll
they're in
see them around
school.
more.
They're in school, and the older ones, on the other hand, have gone to work out in the summer job program. My son calls a restaurant.
Oh, yes, I've heard about that. That's right.
We do
Sounds
yourself
like a
job
good
program.
practical experience.
It's very good. I'd go there myself, except they have me on the road in North Country this week. Plattsburgh, not far from Tycon Road where you were. Thanks for coming to our
Thank you, sir.
Tycon Road event. We'll see you at more.
Yes, sir.
Saratoga
I
and
think we'll
others.
be seeing a lot of each other with these flags.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
What are they doing here?
You don't have to talk to them.
What's up, Ernestine?
Would you like to talk to these gentlemen, Governor, or are you pressed for time at this point?
The best answer to that would come from Erica. Erica, when is the swearing in?
Pardon?
When is the swearing in?
When is it? In 1 minute?
1 minute? We have 1 minute. There we go. 1 minute, 30 seconds, right. Steve, what's up, boy?
Could we talk to you after it then, Governor? Or would you?
Well, I don't know if they're right on this now. Are they all prepared? Is
Pardon?
everything set to go there?
Yeah.
They're waiting.
They're all down there. Right.
We'll do it together. He's got a crew with him, see. We just wanted to fit in wherever you could fit us in for a
All right. You want to do it?
No.
How are you? Fine. How are you? Carey's here.
Before we start, we can't work if you people don't get back a wee bit. Would you mind just stepping back a few feet? Yeah, you can. Then everyone can see.
You say 2 words first?
I guess I better, after we do the...
Ready? Will you place your left hand on the Bible, please, and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Raymond R. Norat,
I, Raymond R. Norat,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of New York,
Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Deputy Commissioner, Department of Commerce,
of Deputy Commissioner, Department of Commerce,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
I detect that our new deputy commissioner is just a trifle nervous, just about the way he was on the day he was married to Ceci just a few short weeks ago. So while he's gathering his thoughts, I want to welcome here on behalf of Ceci and Ray Norat and our state officials and all of those, our Secretary of State Mario Cuomo, who has just done the swearing, and we have either here or on the way Bronx Borough President Bob Abrams, Manhattan Borough President Percy Sutton, Borough President of Queens Don Maness, Staten Island Borough President Robert Connor, Council President O'Dwyer is here or on the way, and our controller, Jay Golden, Harrison Golden. I have a telegram here from one who could not be here but was with us in spirit, and I'll read it. To Raymond Norat, Office of the Governor. Sorry I cannot be with you as the House is in session regarding the energy bill. I want to congratulate you and Governor Carey for the excellent choice he has made. I know that the governor will benefit by your services, just as did I when I was borough president. Best of luck, Herman Badillo. He's joined in his message by Congressman Charles Rangel, also in Washington. Senator Garcia, my neighbor and friend, and Senator Ruiz are here from Albany. Senator Manfred Orenstein, the minority leader. Assemblyman Angelo Del Toro, I hope is with us. Assemblyman Jose Serrano. Assemblyman Armando Montano. Assemblyman Luis Naine. And Assemblyman George Miller. George Farrell. Assemblyman George Farrell. Joseph Arazzo, Assistant to the Mayor of the City of New York. George Batista, Deputy Bronx Borough President, now I believe member of the Board of Regents. Deputy Mayor Stanley Friedman is here, providing he's been able to get the money from the mayor and bring it back from Washington. The priest, Father Gigante, must be somewhere nearby. Father Councilman Gigante, Councilman Ramon Velez, Councilman Sam Wright is here somewhere, will be. Rafael Torregrossa, National Director of the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, who is our resident representative of the government of Puerto Rico. The councilman is all of the city council well represented in the person of Councilman Luis Olmedo, Councilman Henry Stern, Robert Wagner Jr., Councilman at Large, and Councilman Barry Salmon, and Councilman Archie Spigner, and Dr. Francisco Tria, Special Assistant to Governor Hernandez Colon, all with us here today, plus Ugo Lisi from the Bank of Ponce, I see is with us, and Mrs. Lisi. So we have a very fine delegation here, and I'm sure by now our Deputy Commissioner has prepared himself, but I want to say a word because I've known Ray now for a sufficient time to judge his capacity and capability, and in the Department of Commerce, he has a very special obligation and responsibility to do all he can in this depressed economy and job market to this summer and from here on through this administration find opportunities, find ways to keep jobs and seek jobs, especially for our young people who have never had the chance to get a job opportunity in a time when business and the economy are sagging. It's very, I know from experience, it's very difficult for young people to find any kind of a work situation. Those are the kinds of things that Ray Norat is good at. He's worked himself in many capacities. He's been a steward on the airlines. He's worked in sales. He's worked in merchandising, marketing, advertising, government, and therefore from his own experience and with the help of his good wife, Ceci, he knows how to look at creative job situations and work with business, work with industry to see what we can do to relieve the deplorable unemployment, particularly among minorities and teenagers, which, as we know, ranges as high as 30% and 40% in many neighborhoods. So this will be the job. And someone noted, by the way, in making this appointment, that Ray Norat had been active in political campaigns and therefore was being rewarded for the great work he did in behalf of the gubernatorial campaign, the primary. Well, let me say, that's absolutely true. What's the difference between a campaign for governor and a campaign for jobs? The same idea. He worked very hard in voter registration. Now we have the enrollment bill, and we have the postal registration program, and these are ways in which our government's going to make sure that we do the job of creating awareness in the neighborhoods, that neighborhoods can organize for block situations, for rehabilitation, for fixing up housing, creating jobs that way. There will be no limit to the opportunities that Ray has to serve his constituency of all the Americans in New York State, but certainly do all he can to work into our planning and economic development opportunities for our people from Hispanic origins who really have enriched this country since the days of 1492 and are a very strong part of the population of America. So this is a way in which you will identify and see that through Ray Norat's exercise of responsibility and capacity that we're going to go across this state and find every way in which we can make the state departments move out with construction projects, do everything we can with affirmative action, do all that we can, do neighborhood job surveys and see where we can find placement of young people. In other words, do all that a state can do, working with our localities, working with cities, working with communities, working with neighborhoods to see if we can't do something to give our people a chance to get a job and a paycheck. Ray, the rest is up to you.
This is quite an experience to have the governor advance you. I am overwhelmed, and if your presence here today indicates approval, good wishes for both of us, the governor of the state of New York, myself in my new post, if I were to take that as such, I am delighted. If anyone else had other motives in our public system of government, you're still welcome. I couldn't help thinking back to my first swearing in many years ago. Not many, but in politics, 8 years is like an eternity. In the borough president's office of Herman Padilla, it was my sister, which is here, Luz, and my friend Bob Schiff, who spoke for me. And I'm just going to relate a true anecdote that happened because it's very fitting to this day and to what my new post will be. Bob Schiff was asked to speak for me, as is normally done in these affairs, as he was my ex-boss and business partner at the time. And he very enthusiastically, when his time came, told Herman Padilla, the Bronx Borough president, in Mercer, with all these tremendous difficulties of the South Bronx, that when I came into his company, I increased business by 300%. To this, a visibly pale Herman Padilla say, we don't need that kind of business in the South Bronx. Now, Bob Schiff is here again. He was my best man at my recent wedding. And I think now that's befitting, that we increased by 300% the business of the state of New York. I look at the Department of Commerce as a sales force. The governor understands about sales force and sales management. And basically, I'm a salesman. And I consider myself to be a sales manager now. We must find ways to be more effective. I've been a week in my office, and the message is loud and clear. We must do more and better with less. And recently, in very dramatic events that have taken place in the city, in the state of New York, clearly indicates the need for reappraising existing procedures and the old saying, well, this is the way we've been doing things for a long time. Clearly, it's been dramatically shown that we must reappraise that. To that, I commit myself for a quick appraisal of that situation and to really sell the state of New York. It will be a responsibility of law because I love this state. I love New York. It's been good to me, to my family. It's been difficult at times, like to all of us. But those that say that these are very difficult times and are pessimistic, I say to them, this is the time for challenge and excitement. I'm going to ask for your support. That's why you're here. So I'm going to be going for you for advisement. We must get closer to the elected officials to really identify the needs in your communities, whether it be Staten Island or the South Bronx. In the past, I believe this has not been done. I want to do that. So I'll be going for you for help, assistance, and if not always consent, at least constructive criticism. Thank you so much for coming and honoring us, my family, and citizens. Sister. Can I have my sister? Could I have my sister Luz and my niece Ligi and my family to come forward, please? Please. My deaf niece is Yolanda, that you spoke to her. And
Laura,
Welcome. I want to make it clear, Commissioner, that when you said that you faced a challenge, you wanted a challenge, that did not apply to our light heavyweight champion of the world, Jose Torres, who's here today. No, No challenge, Jose.
You met my sister, of course. You met my sister, Luz.
Yes,
You
yes,
met
the
Lucy,
wedding,
and
right,
this is
right.
Laura. My
Laura, how are
Bert
you?
Rosenthal, my brother-in-law.
Bert, how are you? Good to see you.
Father, my brother-in-law.
See you again. How are you? See you. Yes, I know. The wedding was lovely.
My nephew, you met Jose. Ceci, go over here. I'm the senior member of the family.
I see you are. Right. Very well, Ceci. Did they speak very well? Good job.
Can you just close in a wee bit?
Close in.
That's it. Fine.
I didn't think it was going to be like this. I am a little bit
You're the biggest one yet.
Hey, Ray, ask him if you get paid.
He does.
And I already have specific ideas. That's the problem.
First thing you want to do is take a run around the city, look at those neighborhoods, offices, department coverage, and see how they're functioning. Making obvious, okay.
Don't worry about that.
All right.
This is Steve's big chance. He's always wanted to tell them.
Can I just cut a ball?
Say when, Jack.
That's what we call a pregnant silence.
Right.
No.
Sneeze out of that chat.
My big chance to get on TV, too.
I know. Well, you see what happens.
Governor, what made you decide the tax day is over?
The fact that from the very beginning, when we viewed the budget and presented the budget, the first budget that we were required by law to present, the budget which I frankly inherited, we saw in that budget a gap of $500 million. And then to aid localities so they wouldn't have to increase taxes, we put together a program. And that program consisted of a series of taxes spread across the entire state, basically to aid localities, as I say again, so local taxes would not increase on land, on sales, in other words, hurting most the lower income and middle income groups. That was a proposal we made. We gave the legislature 6 months to look at that proposal and see whether, in their judgment, they would follow our recommendation that it was better for the state to cover its gap of last year, which was handed over to us with taxes at the state level, or abandon the aid to localities and let localities suffer the increased tax problem. The legislature has stood fast on that as far as the Senate is concerned, the Republican opposition, and have said they're not going to give us the money to help the localities. And we can just keep waiting and prodding and pressing, but now the time has come when we've gone through a quarter of the entire budget year, and we know that the tax program therefore wouldn't take effect. We've lost 3 months of that program, so to pass a tax that would close the gap, we'd have to tax at a higher rate in the remaining 3 quarters of the fiscal year. That wouldn't make sense.
You were asked how you were going to handle the gap, and your answer was, we'll do our best. What's your best going to be?
The answer is that we're going to go right ahead and try to limit the state purposes side of the budget, which is only 40% of the budget, to programs that will be very carefully examined on a day-by-day basis so that we adopt some unwelcome economies, like restricting the use of parks. We don't like to do that. Cutting back on the amount of money that can go into programs for correctional improvement. We need that, but we'll have to wait on those programs. We'll certainly safeguard the health of our citizens. We'll have to ask localities as well, eventually, not to count on more aid than we expect to be able to give them.
Have you withdrawn from the city's efforts to get help from the Senate?
No, I arranged, if you will, the the transaction that was to take place by putting in place the Big Mac program. It was understood that to have revenues to support the Big Mac bond offerings, we would be cutting into some city revenues. As a result, it was understood between myself and the opposition in the Republican-controlled Senate that some help for the city would be needed. What the amount of that help would be is a matter that's being worked out between representatives of Mayor Beam and both sides of the legislature. I would hope that they would hold fast to that agreement. Having taken some sums from the city to support the Big Mac bond offerings, some gap has to be made up now, so the city doesn't have more of a gap than it started with.
And that $200 million that they're talking about of new taxing powers is really not enough.
That money is to prevent firings and additional layoffs in the short term, while over the next 8 to 10 years, we rearrange the city's financing so that we have services we can afford and pay for, but not services that are predicated, frankly, on money that has to be borrowed.
Governor, has there been any impact on the tax cut, the federal tax cut, on the revenue picture of the state? Is it improving?
We can't detect, excepting in sporadic and spotty ways, any real upsurge in the state's economy. Unemployment insurance rates and unemployment applications are still high. There is an increase, a continuing increase in welfare applications. We're doing our best with a very strong program to cut back ineligibles on welfare so that those who actually need it will get it, but no one who is not entitled will be getting welfare. But there's no sign that the economy is on a recovery surge yet. And the only way it's going to have any real impact in terms of a change in the economy is for the programs that have worked in the past to be installed again. But Mr. Ford is vetoing those programs.
Governor, are you going to be able to avoid any mass firings of your own if you have to go in with a budget where you can't have these new taxing powers that you wanted?
But we don't see any mass firings. We've frozen all state payrolls. The attrition process is taking place, so we're not replacing people in vacancies as they occur. And we're not allowing any programs to be instituted by agencies that require new hirings. At the same time, we've cut out over 20 boards, agencies, and commissions, the so-called no-shows, and those will not be hired. So we're taking all those steps. In addition, I'm pleased to see on my first observance, or at least my review, that the legislative committee charged with coming forth with a solution to the state employees' request for increases has held the line at the rate that we suggested, that will help the low-income state employees, the low-paid state employees, but not go for a very fancy wage increase this year.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, get a couple of cutaways. I'll just sit here and nod.
You don't need me in it, do you?
Huh? That I'm nodding?